Hey miners, welcome back to the channel McNallie Money, the official home of power mining analysis. In today's episode, Anthony Power and I are pleased to welcome the CEO of Bit Digital back to the program, Sam Tabar. He's here to discuss their big WhiteFiber announcement last week. We've got a lot of questions, a lot to go through in today's podcast. Before we get into it, take a second, smash the like button, you guys. Really helps get this content to other people like you who may find value. If you're not already subscribed, McNallie Money, feel free to join and let us know in the comments section below if you're currently holding shares of Bit Digital, what you thought about this recent announcement, and your outlook for the remainder of 2025. Now, with that being said, let's get into today's video. Okay guys, so that's right. Today's video, Sam Tabar back on the program, hot off the heels of some big announcements at Bit Digital. So Sam, welcome back to the program. Thank you for making the time. Really looking forward to getting into this one.
Yeah, thank you for having me, guys.
Hey, so you were on not too long ago, Sam. You went away, you did some more work with the team. Lo and behold, last week you come out with the big announcement talking about splitting out or launching this WhiteFiber Incorporated business unit. Now, this is a theme you've talked about for quite some time on the channel, the premiums associated with the various different components within Bit Digital, and the fact that you're willing to separate or start to separate out these business units if need be. It looks like this is the first step in that direction.
Yeah, I mean, the WhiteFiber brand is something we've actually been working on for a while. WhiteFiber includes our entire HPC business, so both our cloud services business and our data center business, which is Enovum. WhiteFiber is vertically integrated AI infrastructure platform, of which we do not get valuations on for now. We can get into that later. But look, there are a lot of synergies between data center colocation and GPU cloud services, and we're offering customers a comprehensive platform designed to handle the most intensive AI workloads. It was important for us to establish the WhiteFiber brand. It signals that this is a real business. We're not just a Bitcoin miner expressing aspirations or just poking around HPC as a hobby. Rebranding it as its own entity is an important step, an important first step in signaling that this is a formidable enterprise and it can be a standalone brand equity. It's also important to note in the press release that WhiteFiber now has 20 customers across data center, colocation, and cloud services. We started last year with just one. We think this rebrand will help with business development. It'll help legitimize the business and certainly send signals that we are in this for the long haul. We do see a super bright future in HPC. We want to establish ourselves in the industry by being one of the most performant and most high trust platforms. We continue to believe that this business can stand on its own at some point, and we intend to do that if the capital markets continue to go sideways.
Great to hear that, Sam. And let's be honest, a lot of miners are talking about HPC. You're physically delivering HPC, and we'll come on to the operational update later in the chat. But today you announced, another one of these customers joining your services. And can you give us a little bit more update? I think it's 5 megawatts you're aligning to this project over the next 5 years. Tell us what that means in terms of value, in terms of the type of client. I mean, I don't think you mentioned a client in the update, so whether that's kept secret at the moment, but give us more update on what we've read today.
Yeah, so the counterparty is a well-known counterparty. They did not give us sign off yet on revealing their names. We are talking to them and trying to get them to do that because that obviously I think would be very important to show what kind of the quality of the clients that we're getting. We did announce, as you mentioned today, that Bit Digital or WhiteFiber has secured a co-location contract with a leading AI hardware innovator. The agreement was executed through WhiteFiber and provides the client with 5 megawatts of build-to-suit data center infrastructure for a period of 5 years. The contract will be fulfilled at a data center within Enovum's proprietary development pipeline, as we announced last year. The revenue is market rate, which is basically in the area of about $2 million per megawatt of IT load, including power costs. We are waiting on this client to approve the use of their logo for a later release. So we intentionally kept the details vague until their sign off. We're really super thrilled to have this blue chip company. This agreement underscores confidence in our ability to deliver sophisticated, high performance co-location solutions tailored for next generation AI workloads. We're super excited to have this client.
In terms of this type of deal, I mean, I'm assuming you're obviously using your own facility, using your own GPUs to deliver this service.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in terms of 5 megawatts, I mean, are we looking at the sort of like the H100s or a mixture of H100s, H200s to deliver that? And
well, yeah, we're gonna reveal all that in a future press release,
okay.
including the data center that we will be using for this particular client.
Yeah, I mean, you've mentioned there 2 million per megawatt. I mean, it doesn't take rocket scientists to work out that's 10 million more revenue just from this client. So this is getting you further and further towards your target of 100 million. And
Well,
with what you put in the operational update, you're sort of already getting that, close with the revenues that are coming in as well at the moment.
we're actually, from a contracted revenue rate, we're a whisker away from $100 million. We're a whisker away. So we're very happy with the progress. The issue is revenue run rate is when the actual cash comes in. Contracted run rate, we're a whisker away from 100 million already. So these contracts will start later this year, particularly the second half. And so the revenue run rate recognition will happen, throughout the year when the cash comes in. And these contracts, they don't start the day you sign them. You have to, there are certain things that need to be done, get the data center built, create the infrastructure that is specific for that client, and so on and so forth. That takes a few months. I know that people are looking at the monthly updates. That's frankly misleading because there's a difference between contracted run rate, which again, like I mentioned, we are a whisker away from 100 million, and revenue run rate, which is when the actual cash comes in, when the contracts come in. So, I'm very happy and very pleased with our sales force. We were able to get to contracted run rate almost 100 million. And I look forward to giving some information on what our target is by the end of the year.
In terms of what you're achieving at the moment contractually, how much more sort of with your current facilities could you increase that contracted rate to? Do you have an idea how much more you could go out there with the right clients that come forward?
I mean, it's a complicated question, but I can give you I mean, as you know, we have over 300 megawatts in the pipeline for data centers. We've increased our clients from 1 to 20 within 12 months. We are a whisker away of $100 million in our revenue from a contracted basis. So, our progress is, frankly, I think, the best in the industry. And of course, we continue to not get credit about it. And I think it's solely because a lot of traders are looking simply at the Bitcoin mining business. The multiples don't make sense in our situation. And like I mentioned, WhiteFiber is a one step toward, not one of many steps we've been taking towards the possibility of spinning out the HPC business so we can force the markets to give us proper multiples, because the HPC business will be a pure play on cloud and data center. So there's going to be no Bitcoin mining in that. So they're not going to judge WhiteFiber in a Bitcoin mining lens because it has no Bitcoin mining in it. So that's one way that we intend to force the capital markets to give us proper valuation should we decide to go down that route.
In terms of Bryce myself, we spoke to a lot of the analysts last year. I spoke to some in November as well, and their focus was still on the HPC side. and not the Bitcoin mining side. But we have seen this sort of rally in the Bitcoin price. It got to 109,000. It's back down at 97 now. We don't know what the price is going to be tomorrow, next week, next month. What we do know is that the predictability. I read a lot of the analyst updates, and this is what sort of is driving the price. I mean, you are quite right. You're not getting the recognition at the moment for those revenues that you're achieving. Even if you look at what your physical run rate is as opposed to your contracted run rate, which we'll start seeing more of that as these revenues kick off in this early part of 2025. You're achieving effectively more HPC revenue than the rest of the miners added together at the moment, and not
Correct.
quite getting any of that
That's
recognition for it. Yes, there are some big contracts
that,
out there, but they're not getting the revenues at the moment. That's in the future. And so you are delivering at the moment and not quite getting that same recognition.
yeah, we're not. And like I said, we have plans to force the markets to fix that.
Sam, I wanted to ask a question. What kind of opportunities or benefits does this WhiteFiber launch offer to both sides of the business? But you brought up an interesting point about Wall Street and the market makers, the Bitcoin aspect of your business almost muddying or diluting the overall story. Have you found that at all with your sales staff on the HPC AI side? Is there any concern with these potential clients of, oh, this is a Bitcoin mining company at its roots or anything like that?
Not directly. That's a really good question. Not directly, but it's one of the reasons just to make sure that people understand this is a different operations, this is a different team. And so we have a new website, the WhiteFiber website, which I think looks pretty sick. It has its own Twitter account. And from a legal perspective, it's a separate subsidiary. The HPC teams have nothing to do with Bitcoin mining. So we have separated these teams, and now we've begun separating it externally, particularly with this WhiteFiber rebrand. And look, the AI infrastructure industry is experiencing hyperbolic growth, with demand surging for both GPU services and colocation capacity in tier 3 data centers. One goal of our hiring efforts has been to bring, a sales and business development process at a very enterprise grade. Previously, we could only focus on these really big, large clients because we didn't have the bandwidth or infrastructure to service smaller customers. But now we can. And part of the strategy is to onboard customers at smaller starting quantities and grow with them with the intention of growing that business over time. We want the chance to prove to clients that we offer a platform that is reliable, that is performant to as any competitor, and we are growing that business. We also very much wanted to diversify our customer base, and we have. One of the criticisms we had last year is like, oh, it's just one client. So, okay, now we're 20. So, and we continue on that path. And that said, we still anticipate winning larger deals and larger customers. We announced a 5 megawatt co-location deal this morning. We're aiming for far bigger deals than that. And listen, we won that deal for a new site we haven't even announced yet, and we haven't even broken ground on yet. So I think that's a very powerful signal to customers' faith in our platform and our ability to deliver cutting edge infrastructure on a stated timeline. When we say what we're going to do, customers believe us. It's a very high quality customer too. And like I said, I really hope to announce the logo soon, but we just haven't received written consent to disclose their name yet. The revenue is around, as I mentioned, around market rate of IT workload per megawatt for a tier 3 data center capacity. We were just really intentionally general and vague on the deal because we're still waiting clearance on the announcements that we can announce the customer and further details on the deal.
When you say you haven't built the site yet, I mean, when you look at building a site for a new client, what sort of capacity do you put into that new site? Have you looked at what the optimal size of a site that would generate you the best returns? Is it having more smaller satellite sites, or is it having sort of like a flagship site which can do far more on one location, and maybe the economies of scale of saving some elements of the additional costs, like staffing and security, etc., for one site, as opposed to having 6 or 7 satellite sites.
We have many, many, many identified sites in our proprietary pipeline. When we acquired Enovum, we didn't just acquire that particular Montreal data center site that's really good for inference, but we also acquired a team that's been doing this their entire lives, probably the best team in Canada, frankly. And we've identified what we really also bought was that pipeline, that proprietary pipeline that has identified in the United States and Canada with many LOIs and ongoing discussions, very specific data centers that help towards our mission to have all these tier 3 data centers under our corporate umbrella. So that was an excellent acquisition that will continue to pay dividends for many years.
Now,
Yeah.
you've been driving HPC revenues for well over 12 months. Can you give us an indication? And we've got a lot of these miners coming into the space now, some starting with smaller projects, looking to advance quickly. But can you talk about some of the lessons learnt that you found over that period, and what maybe, will apply to some of these other miners as they go forward? What lessons that you've learnt?
Yeah, the lessons we've learned is that don't try to do something you don't know how to do. So that's one of the reasons why we acquired Enovum and the team. Building tier 3 data centers is a very different beast compared to Bitcoin mining centers. And I mean, this is more stylistic, but we haven't announced aspirations. We've only announced things when they're actually pretty much done. That's very important for us. I think if I were to say, we're speaking with a hyperscaler for 200 megawatts, and I just do a lot of jazz hands about it, then I think probably the capital markets will give me credit for that, but and the stock will go up, but I just can't. I don't want to do jazz hands, so I'm just going to stick with our institutional process. We have an incredible sales team. We have an incredible pipeline in terms of data centers, in terms of clients. And as I mentioned, we are from a contracted basis. We've almost reached our revenue targets, and I'll be revising those targets very soon. But please understand there's a difference between contracted versus run rate.
To stand up to what you said there, I mean, we know there's miners out there that put out, the opportunities that could await them. But you
Right.
guys are tending to put out the information once you've signed the contract. So we didn't hear about Bit Digital and HPC till you'd already been awarded the contract with your first
Right.
big client. And then when you increase it, that's when we heard again. It was after the effect, not we're looking to. Yes, you had a target of 100 million, and literally a month after December now, you're already turning around and saying contractually you're there and thereabouts to that figure anyway. So you've achieved that target there. Look forward to hearing the next target. Over to you, Brian.
Yeah, I look forward to that as well. That was actually going to be my question, Anthony. Good segue. You talk about this growth from one client to 20, and I remember that criticism last year of, oh, it's just one client, one anchor client. Now that's not a problem. You say you have the team from Enovum, you've got this experience in-house, obviously a lot of partners eager or chomping at the bit. What would you say is the bottleneck to your growth on the HPC side in 2025, Sam?
Bandwidth for sure. Just too much work going on, and we've lost many deals actually because of our there is only so many hours in a day, and we've lost a lot of deals actually because there's just too much going on. So I think that's definitely one problem, both on the data center development and on the client acquisition process. So this is something that we continue to work on. I know it's a good problem to have. It's still a problem. I think another problem is the perception that we are a Bitcoin miner, which frankly, we do have a Bitcoin mining fleet, and we're optimizing that fleet and making it more efficient. But I think the algos and the traders, they just look at the monthly report, and the markets look at Bit Digital and they're like, oh, that's just a rinky-dink small Bitcoin miner. And they don't understand, they don't open up the hood and see what is actually going on with us. So that's another bottleneck. I think that we are slowly but surely solving, and we will solve for it with a sledgehammer if we have to.
Great. Now, since our last discussion, Trump's administration has come out. We've seen the DeepSeek news. Then we saw the Stargate discussion and investment in AI HPC. Initially, both of these were viewed as maybe negative to the domestic HPC AI groups, but now it's seen in another light, Sam, really with this Jevons paradox. That was all the craze on social media. People expecting more usage demand for HPC AI. Can we get your comments on the current administration and some of these kind of macro developments?
Yeah, to be honest, we haven't seen any notable change from either Trump or Stargate or DeepSeek. It's been business as usual for us. The excitement from our customer base has remained consistently high. The anticipation has been building for the NVIDIA Blackwell series for months and months, and that is starting to unfold. On the colocation side, appetite for direct chip liquid cooling infrastructure that is available for when customers start receiving Blackwell's is sky high.
So yeah, last week we got the monthly operation report for January, Sam. So can you talk us through just a little bit of the self-mining? We've touched a little bit on the HPC, but factor that in as well in terms of revenues and the fact that, I mean, you do put out a comprehensive update with regards to all your business units. I mean, a lot of the miners put out their self-mining updates, don't really put anything else out other than that, but you cover every section. So you leave nothing off the table, but if you can talk through some of the key points from the update in terms of those three areas, that'd be helpful.
Yeah, we released our January production report on Friday. HPC revenue was around 4.9 million, excluding Boostedroid, because of accounting nuances related to how the deal is structured. So our accountant said you cannot put that in the monthly report because of the way the deal is structured. There's a certain accounting reason. So I guess that'll only be seen and reflected in the public filings. It's also worth noting that revenue from our H200 deal with DNA Fund and our recently announced B200 deal will begin to start showing up in future months. The sales pipeline remains very strong on the GPU side, and we're actively bidding on several new contracts at any given time. Our Bitcoin mining numbers were down as we deal with the departure from Coinmin sites and the redeployment of miners to new hosting sites. We're still targeting a return to 3.0 exahash in the next several months, and we expect a material improvement in our operational overall fleet efficiency as we replace certain S19s with S21s. But as mentioned in the report, our total revenue is 4.9 million. That includes the GPU cloud revenue and co-location services revenue. And again, this figure excludes revenue from signed contracts that have not yet commenced. And the cash payments from the equipment leasing contract with Boostedroid are also not included in this revenue for accounting reasons. The Bitcoin mined has been 28.7. Our active hash rate, which is being fixed in the near term for reasons I mentioned, is just 1.6. The decrease in active hash rate and total Bitcoin produced for the month of January is primarily driven by change in our hosting portfolio and in the ongoing redeployment of mining assets to new sites, and also the retirement of older generation miners. Our Bitcoin treasury holdings is about 770 right now. Our ETH treasury is about 27,600. That's around $91.3 million. Our total liquidity is $245 million, and we have absolutely zero debt.
In terms of the hosting range, we've just seen an update from Soluna mentioning that obviously there must be a deal with you guys using their facilities. I'm assuming the attractive energy costs that they're able to achieve, and we've had John on the podcast many times. And again, It's another miner out there that doesn't seem to get any sort of like market acknowledgement of what it is achieving in terms of energy cost. I think he said they were able to get around about the 3 cents a kilowatt hour, which when you look at the fact we've just seen CleanSpark's earnings come out, they were achieving 4.6, which is a 50% increase on what some of these other miners are able to achieve. So energy costs being one of the biggest costs, it sounds like even with a hosting fee that you're in a good position with that particular customer.
Yes, Luna is a great partner. We've been really happy. They're also great people. And I think that's the way it is with retail, that there are certain darlings that happen with certain peers in our sector, and they get very hung up on these peers and the aspirational statements they make. That's just the way it is. And I think Bit Digital will have its day when people are a little bit more logical about things. But for now, these are the trends. And when things move, they move very quickly. We just know that we're on the right path. Everything is going directionally as good as possible. We will continue that until the markets find it too difficult to continue to ignore us.
Hey, one final question just came to mind, Sam, from a subscriber. Wanted an update given the recent volatility with the price of Ethereum. I'll also note the volatility with the price of all coins right now, but Ethereum, just an update on your outlook there and the staking operations, if those are paid out monthly in terms of the staking reward or how that's received.
I don't remember if it's paid monthly. I will check into that. That's a question for my ops and accounting team. But in terms of I think what the subscriber is asking is really about my thoughts about the underperformance of Ethereum. Look, I've been in crypto and since 2017, and I know very well that things which fall into favor and then things become in great favor very suddenly. And so I refuse to just let go of my ETH because it's not in favor right now. I know how this works, and I just have to ignore the naysayers and remain very disciplined on the strategy.
Appreciate the context there. Great response. And you guys, if you do have any other questions, a great avenue or forum to get these two CEOs and leadership at the mining companies. Let us know if you have any additional questions for Sam below. Feel free to hit the like button, subscribe, and let us know what you thought of these recent press releases and the launch of WhiteFiber. Sam, thanks so much for making the time today. We'll see you back here soon.